Hey, Bills Mafia. We know there's only one topic every day. All Bills, all the time. And now Matt Beauvais and Sal Capaccio are going really deep, talking Bills all year long, because it's always game day in Buffalo.
All right, episode 2 is down for Hard Knocks. We just completed watching it. Matt Beauvais, Sal Capaccio, back this time, both of us in Buffalo. Now, not in St. John Fisher. I was in my dorm last week when we did this, but back in studio Capaccio. But here we go, Matt. 2 episodes in, and honestly, I have to say it's just like the Bills wanted. It's kind of boring from a standpoint of not much drama, highlighting some guys, and really not a lot to get into as far as really juicy stuff.
Yeah, no drama. Really no drama at all. It's very, very, the word I used in the last episode we did was surface level. I felt like the second episode was more of the same. That doesn't mean it's bad. It just means, they're getting to a lot of things. And I don't think they're showing anything that the Bills don't want them to show, which understandably so. I get that it takes 2 to tango. I enjoyed this episode more than I enjoyed the first episode, just because I thought there were some interesting tidbits. And I really like the more personal side of it. Maybe that's just because that's what I'm a little bit more interested in. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed the episode for the most part. I didn't think it was great. I didn't think it was bad. I sat there and I enjoyed watching it.
I think a lot of people were wondering how much they would focus on the James Cook situation. There really wasn't much. There was some mention of it.
No.
And actually, more than anything, it painted James in a pretty good light when Liv Schreiber, who is the narrator, talked about, James being at all the meetings and doing everything he's supposed to. And then Brandon Beane basically saying the same thing when he was being interviewed. So I think the Bills kind of have steered clear of having that a big focus. And it appears that now that we know, and we'll get into later, that James is actually back at practice, I think this is probably a storyline that doesn't go on very much longer here.
Yeah, that was disappointing. That was the one thing that I was kind of looking forward to see how it was addressed in this episode, because that has been the big story of the week. Whether or not you like having to talk about it or listen to it or you're sick of the conversation, that's kind of irrelevant. This has been the big story nationally around the country, is what has happened with the Bills and James Cook. And there wasn't just a ton there. A little bit of Brandon Beane talking about it, a couple shots of him running out on the field. After a couple minutes, it was over. I didn't know how into it they were going to get. I'm sure the Bills didn't want to get very much into it, but I also was a bit surprised that they didn't talk to James Cook, or James Cook's agent didn't tell him, hey, if they ask you to do an interview, do it, because we want your side of this story out there as well. So they just kind of brushed over it a little bit. I'll say I was a little disappointed with how they handled the James Cook stuff, but I was really impressed with the Damar Hamlin stuff later in the episode. I thought that was I posted on X about it, very powerful and poignant. The way they did all of the Damar Hamlin content in this episode, I was really impressed with. And, I know sometimes we talk about him as a football player and how he needs to be better and how his job on the 53-man roster is not completely locked down, not completely safe. But it is remarkable to know what this guy has gone through to get to the point that he's at, and that's very commendable.
Most of the country, people watching something like this, would probably be familiar with Damar Hamlin and what happened in Cincinnati. I'm sure some people also are very familiar with the fact that he's kind of been at the forefront of AEDs and CPR. I really liked that they showed that as well. I liked that they showed the hands-on, what Damar is doing with American Heart Association, with Terry Pegula, with the Buffalo Bills, Terry talking about Kim's situation and how CPR basically their daughter saved Kim's life in that situation. I agree with you. It was powerful from a standpoint of Damar personally, but I love the fact that they highlighted that, this is not just a guy that talks about his story. It's not just a guy that we go back and visit the story. It's also a young man in Damar Hamlin, who's actually out there. And I've said this ever since that day. What's been impressive to me about Damar Hamlin isn't just the fact that he's still playing football. It's the fact that he is actually an agent for change, not just putting his name on something.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a comment here from Miss Smoker 37. Hearing Terry talk about Kim was powerful. I agree, because I don't know if that's something a lot of people know, is that one of Terry's daughters ultimately saved his wife's life. And then that's why she is still here today, and how the symmetry with everything that happened to Damar Hamlin, and then the fact that they're both out at an event in Rochester for this, I think really speaks volumes to them wanting to create change. And have something that negatively impacted their lives turn into something that could help somebody else down the road. Like Damar Hamlin especially has really made this his life's mission. And I think that's really, really, just commendable is the word I'd use.
All right, so it's Matt Bove, it's Sal Capaccio here, and it's always Game Day in Buffalo. It's the live Hard Knocks reaction episode. We'll also get into James Cook. We can do that here. Do you want to talk about Cook now at practice, or do you want to get more into the episode? What do you want to do?
Let's get into the episode, but can you post this comment from Colin in the live episode here from 10:04?
I can. Yes, hold on. Here we go. I will do this right here. Go ahead.
For somebody to explain to me how the James Cook story is pushed by the media. He showed up, then he stopped practicing,
and we report on it
before the game. Then he didn't play in the game, and then he started to practice it. What part of this is being pushed by the media? If anybody would like to elaborate on that, I would love to know. Because right now it's just he's there or he's not there, which is literally what people want to know from those people who are covering the team. I just don't know what is being pushed by the media.
What part? Like the fact that we're just telling you that he's not there or he is there?
Yeah.
I think this is what it amounts to. This is what it amounts to. A comment like this is the classic. I don't want to blame James Cook for anything, or the Bills, so I'll blame the media.
Here, they responded. It's all you guys focus on and blow the story up. We got a team to report on.
Yes,
you mean
he's part of the team, the big part of
the Pro Bowl running back who wants a ton of money, who was a big reason why they had the success they had last year, not being on the field, is not something that you want to know about.
By the way, is that really all we've reported on? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's because it's picked up by so many people because so many people are interested in it. I'm
literally Adam Schefter, and ESPN and people like that were like tweeting about him being at practice today at the same time we were. I don't really know what the big deal is.
It's a big deal because a lot of people care about it. Because a lot of people think about fantasy football implications, think about just the state of the NFL with the running back position. A lot of people care about it. You don't have to think it's a big deal. But to say that it's something that is being pushed by the media to make it a big deal seems really, really silly to me.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's just what people do. They want to blame the media when they don't want to actually face like the reality of what's actually happening. It's all the media's fault. Either way, we can move on to the fact that he was at practice, and that is a big part of today's storyline because the Bills do have another preseason game coming up, and Sean McDermott did say today, again, basically reiterated what he said after Saturday's game against the Giants, which is it's kind of go time. We got to get guys back, meaning injuries, but he's also referring to James Cook, and James Cook is one of those guys they need to start getting back because, Matt, after this week, you're not getting James Cook or some of these starters for game number 3 against the Buccaneers. So, like, this is the week that these guys have to start getting back to health or back on the field in James Cook's case with a contract situation.
Yeah, James Cook is, of course, the contract situation. And then you've got the players like Cole Bishop and like Curtis Samuel and players who we have talked about because they have been injured and what this means for them because they need to get out on the field. They need to show that either they are capable of doing the jobs that we're expecting them to do. Cole Bishop, that's the starting safety. Curtis Samuel, that's a job on the 53-man roster. James Cook, it's to be one of the premier running backs in the NFL. Up to this point, we just haven't been able to see much because they haven't been available for whatever the reasons are, injuries or in James Cook, the hold-in situation. So I think today was a big step with James Cook being back out on the field. But the bigger step or the even more notable thing for the long-term future, because I never thought James Cook was not going to play or hold out for the regular season. I don't really think any of us thought that was going to happen. Crazier things have happened, like him showing up and then deciding not to practice halfway through. So never say never. I didn't really think we were going to get to that point. The Taylor Rapp and Cole Bishop injuries have been lingering, and that's been like there's not a lot of time on task. So that was a good sign to see them on the practice field today. Yep. And the fact that Curtis Samuel is appearing to trend in the right direction is also a good sign.
And Alec Anderson also today in uniform with trainers along with Curtis Samuel. Chris writes here, did anyone feel like Cook was trying to avoid being on camera during the episode? Last 2 times they showed him, he left the picture. I mean, maybe, Chris, but listen, this is actually the way I'm going to back this comment up with this from Toronto Larry, which is actually right. You could tell this is a neutered version of Hard Knocks. They did the bare minimum on the Cook story, only talked to Bean 10 years ago before Team Control. They'd have gotten the full story from all sides. Well, it's not necessarily the full story from all sides. It's the fact that the team only wants certain things out there, obviously. And yes, teams have control now. So look, we can debate all we want how much we would like to see about the James Cook situation. We could debate how much, Hard Knocks wanted to dig into that, but the Bills have control over a lot of what you see, if not all of it. And you're not going to see this really in-depth, sort of infighting or anything like that, if it exists between James Cook and the Buffalo Bills. We saw today on this episode of Hard Knocks, the fact that James Cook is holding in, and we saw him in team meetings, and we heard Brandon Beane talk very highly about him. And then now he's back at practice today. So I don't think we're even going to see much more of this at all come next Tuesday.
The only notable part from the James Cook segment in the show was Brandon Beane saying publicly again that he hopes at this time next year, James Cook is still a member of the Bills. So they're keeping the door open, whether that's with a new contract or whether that's with a franchise tag. But if we thought this was messy, I think a franchise tag would be even more messy down the road if that's what it ultimately gets to. I see a comment from somebody saying they think he's worth $11 million, and going back to the Kyren Williams conversation, the interesting thing there is you could make the argument either way based off of Kyren Williams. And I think ever since that contract has been signed, we've been able to peel back the layers a little bit more. I think if you look at the two players, James Cook is the more explosive and dynamic player, but Kyren Williams is the bigger piece of that offense. Like, he's on the field a ton. I believe the snap count was 87% of snaps last year. He was out there for the Rams offense. James Cook is under 50. So it's hard to say that they're worth the same when one guy is on the field 87% of the time and the other guy is on the field less than 50% of the time. And the easy argument for James Cook would be, well, then he should be on the field more. But the Bills' argument might be, but that's how he's the most effective. And we don't want to take our other guys off of the field. So that's why I still feel like there's this gap between where these two sides are.
I'll give you one more from Colin so you can respond to him. Here we go. You can read that.
You need the drama and clicks. That's why you push the story and make it bigger than it is. It's football contract stuff pops up all the time. It is the first time that the Buffalo Bills organization with Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott have dealt with something like this in the entire tenure that they have been there. So it's something that happens all of the time. I really don't think that's true because it does not happen all the time.
Matt, don't you know you need the clicks?
It's funny too. People think like if we post a tweet, like I get money from that. Like I wish I did. Like if I did, I would start posting outrageous stuff just to make a little bit of money. That's not how it works. If nobody retweets or likes my stuff or clicks my articles, I'm still getting paid the same amount. So whatever.
I love it. I love it. Like I said, this is what people do. They don't like something. They don't want to face reality. It makes them uncomfortable. So they blame the media. It's just a time-honored tradition. It's all good.
Go back to this one. This is more about this is from 716. Can you guys talk about that part where the O-line got mad at Joe for hurting Ty Johnson? That was a great point, and that was a really good little tidbit. So that was something we watched happen out at training camp. Joe Andreessen hit him late. It was I don't want to say it was,
and by the way, that day, people reported it and said it. If you go back that day, people tweeted Joe Andreessen hit Ty Johnson late.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird because the way the episode was edited, they were talking about how he's too nice on the football field. And then he clearly did something that crossed the line. So maybe it's in his head because we don't know when that clip is from and then when the play happened. So maybe it's in his head that he's got to play to the whistle. He didn't hear a whistle. He's out of bounds. But like, it was clearly late. And Ryan Vandermark is 100% right. Like, he was running out of bounds. You don't need to take him to the ground in that situation and essentially have a cheap shot on him, because Ty Johnson sat there and was looked at for a couple minutes before he went back onto the field. If that happens and he gets hurt, like, that's just a really, really avoidable situation that you do not want to see happen. So I'm glad that they put that into the episode, because that was maybe the most controversial part of the episode, which really says a lot about the episode.
Yeah, and it's a good segue to the fact that they did actually, the reason why that's in there partly is because they did feature Joe Andreessen pretty much right away in this episode, right?
Yeah.
And when we go back the last few months, who's going to be featured, I think Joe Andreessen's name came up a lot. I know I brought him up as a possible guy because of the local story, and he's still kind of an underdog in a way. Now obviously he's going to be the backup middle linebacker, it appears, but Joe Andreessen was kind of featured right away in this episode, and you could see that they were latching onto him.
Yeah, Joe Andreessen. There was a comment here from somebody on the side that said that they liked the human element of this episode. And I agree with that, even though I did say that I still think it was surface level. I do like how they went into Joe Andreessen, the person, and the backstory, because that's not something I think a lot of people outside of Western New York would really have any idea about. The last episode was about Josh Allen mainly, and everybody knows about Josh Allen. They just wanted to know more about Josh Allen. This one was about KJ Hamler, a player who is not a household name outside of really not even in Western New York. Joe Andreessen, who outside of Buffalo is not a household name, and Damar Hamlin, who is not a household name because of what he has done as a player, but more so the incident that happened on Monday Night Football. So I was really happy is not the right word, but I enjoyed seeing them take this approach to this episode. And if it is going to be surface level and not with a lot of drama from here on out, I hope this is the way they take it and they pivot to much more of the personal off the field stuff that we saw a little bit in this episode.
I took some notes here and went in chronological order. This one actually came a little later, but it's good by Toronto Larry again. We'll highlight his comment here. I like that they are building up the Mike White versus Trubisky storyline. Should be interesting to follow. I agree. I think it's a good storyline at camp overall. I do think it's one of the better position battles. Yes, it's a backup position battle. We know that the Bills don't have many starting spots, if any, actually available to be competing for. But this is a good battle and a good position to kind of monitor because, shoot, if anything ever actually did happen to Josh Allen just for a few weeks, you're going to have someone who's have to be capable enough to go in there, and do the job. So I do like that this was A, featured, and we're going to keep focusing on it, and B, getting a little bit more into the relationship of the quarterback room.
I think the backup quarterback competition is something being pushed by the media and is trying to get clicks out of people, actually, is what I think. No, I'm just kidding. I think the backup quarterback competition is real. I don't think Mike White has a fantastic shot at it, but I do think that he is still, it's in the 11th round. He's lost the 6 of the first 11, right? He's a little bit of an underdog, but he could get a knockout in this final round. I think it's Mitch Trubisky's job to lose. And based off of the first preseason game, I think it's still his job to lose. Also, I know nothing about boxing, so if that analogy that I just made makes no sense, I apologize. The wheels were going in my head, and I didn't know how I was going to get to where I needed to go. It's late, everybody. 10:18. I'm normally asleep by this time.
So Ray Davis was featured, more so maybe for his kicking prowess than anything else, which I think is interesting because maybe later we'll also see Ray Davis and the situation of him growing up as a foster child and what he's doing to give back for foster children. I thought that would be a really good storyline off the field. Maybe it's going to happen now. They're back in Buffalo, but Ray Davis becomes a bit of a feature here because he's also a kicker, and he actually kicked in not only the blue and red game, but then of course in the preseason game. And I thought that was pretty cool to get into that a little bit.
That was a layup. Sometimes you just got to make the layups. That was a layup that they had given to them by the situation with Ray Davis and the Bills. So they took advantage of it. So kudos to them. It was another thing that I thought they could maybe expand upon a little bit more. But, it was cool that they mentioned it because I don't think they could have gone back to it, right? Even though not every part of these episodes is chronological, the fact that they were getting to the end of training camp in Rochester, they ended with the scrimmage in the last game where he did the kick, and then the preseason game, they still have to loosely follow along with this storyline or, with this moment from the last couple weeks. So I'm glad they got it out of the way now. Do you see the comment from Elena? What did you guys think about the milk choices? What was said? Somebody said something about breast milk in this episode.
There was a lady that was being interviewed, and my apologies for not remembering her name. It was on the screen. And when they were interviewing Bills Mafia, Bills fans. Yeah. And she said the craziest thing that happened at a tailgate was my husband or my husband's friend drank my breast milk. I think it was something like that. So, I mean, I might have the exact details wrong, but that's pretty much the general way it went down.
Why?
They were talking about crazy things at tailgates. They were just highlighting how crazy Bills Mafia is.
There are so many other things that you could drink that would be much more satisfying, true. I think.
True. But that would not be something to show how crazy Bills Mafia is.
If you had to go have a glass of milk right now.
It was her friend's breast milk. Thank you. I'm sorry about that. Thank you very much. She said her husband, wait, here we go. Her husband drank her friend's breast milk, Backbone said. Thank you very much, Miss Smoker, as well. Yeah, there you go.
That's ridiculous. If you had to go upstairs right now or downstairs because you're in your attic and have a glass of milk, what kind of glass of milk would you have? Do you even have milk?
I'm not a milk drinker.
Our colleague.
We have almond milk in the house.
Okay, I like almond milk. Our colleague Joe Biscaglia has made fun of me. I shouldn't say make fun of me, but he has poked fun at me for years because in the press box, I used to just have a carton of milk. And he's like, who just drinks milk by itself? And I was like, I do. I don't think there's anything crazy with that. I would have a nice glass of 2% milk. And I don't do it regularly, but if I had to go have a glass of milk, I guess that's what I would have.
Anyway, Miss Smoker, I do not drink milk. I'm not a milk drinker. It's just a little lactose thing for me. So
Apparently that guy is.
So you're asking me about almond milk. I'm just telling you what we have in our house, and we have a couple other things. So I don't really pay attention to it as much. My son has cereal. We put the milk in and all that, but I'm not paying attention to the milk because I'm not drinking it. Anyway, let's move on from the milk conversation. Our buddy Josh Reed was in this episode because he was standing next to Sean McDermott for a PSA about skin cancer. And that was
good.
Yeah. To obviously see one of our colleagues, Josh Reed, from Channel 4 here in Buffalo, but also the skin cancer storyline. And we've had some comments here from people tonight that have said they didn't realize that Sean McDermott had skin cancer. And, that's also something they wanted to, I think, bring to the forefront to show Sean and the human side and, that part of him, but also I think as a PSA to talk about, something that could impact anyone.
Yeah, and it's also a good kind of reminder, or I guess just like a little bit of information, that if you went out to training camp and you go and you watch the Bills, or if you see videos of the team circulating online and you see Sean McDermott in a coat, you might be like, hey, why is the guy in a coat? It's 94 degrees outside. Why is he in long sleeves? Well, he's doing it to protect his skin, so there's a reason behind it. And I do think that I think it's very respectable for somebody who has this platform to be talking about that given the setting. Like, there's a lot of things Sean McDermott could have tried to say for this episode or talk about in this episode. And the fact that he's doing it to try and help others, I think is a really, really cool thing for him to do. I know he's opened up about it a little bit in the past, but obviously not on a stage as big as Hard Knocks. Him doing an interview with one of the local news stations or a radio station or the paper is a little bit different than talking about this on Hard Knocks in front of the entire country.
They opened the episode with Sean talking about consistency and believing in consistency. And I actually love that because that is a word that I've used for him since really 2017 when he got here. It's one of the things that was so striking about me and how he runs his program and being around the team every day and embedded with the team was the consistency of Sean McDermott. I remember this, and I've said this story before, and I remember saying this story back in 2017 when the Bills made the playoffs that year and were facing the Jacksonville Jaguars. And, people asked me about, whoa, this must be like so big for them. And how are they going to handle it? And I thought about it and said, what's striking to me is they're consistent every week. They just have the same approach. And that's how McDermott operates. Here we are 9 years in to Sean McDermott's tenure as the Buffalo Bills head coach. And it's exactly the same. Consistency is a great word to use for not only Sean McDermott, but this organization, I believe, Matt, which is partly why we get the only one hold in now in 9 years, right? Because of the consistency and how they approach everything.
Yeah, it almost sometimes, I don't want to say frustrating from the outside, but they run so level really as an organization in a lot of the way that they handle their responsibilities with the media or the interviews that they do. Never too high, never too low. A lot of it's cliche, but a lot of it is what they truly believe in. This is what we have to do today, and this is what we are going to do. I've always had a hard time thinking or understanding that people can think that way from the outside perspective of it's the most important game because it's our next game. If I had $1 for every time, I've heard that over the last couple of years, I could buy everybody who's watching this now a glass of milk or something with all of the money that we would have. I have a hard time believing it from the outside, but that's because we're not on the inside. We don't see what happens all the time behind closed doors. And I think that they really do believe that. And that's the messaging that they're trying to put in this episode, even though it's unfathomable. It's like something I couldn't even fathom about how you could be not thinking ahead, not thinking about, oh, we got to make the playoffs. Oh, we got to get to the Super Bowl. Oh, we got to eventually beat the Chiefs this year. They're like, no, we got to get ready for practice on Wednesday morning because that's the next thing we have.
I want to talk about this because Nathan asks it now, and it kind of advances us to today and what we had down at the stadium, not in this episode. I did touch on this a little bit earlier, Nathan, but I'll bring it up again here for you to expand. Can you guys chat for a moment about Sean's edge at today's presser? I thought he was a bit edgy too, because again, I'll go back to, I think that he's making it known through us, but because he's not going to say anything to us he doesn't say to his team. That's not what I'm saying. But he's still letting it known and be known. He's very serious about it is time to get people on this field playing football because we have a season to prepare for and we have to evaluate. And the more time you're missing is going to hurt this team.
Yeah, it was eerily similar to what we saw happen last year after they had not a strong performance in their first preseason game against the Bears. It was kind of like, okay, that happened. Now it needs to start ramping up. They had a different energy and I think approach to their second preseason game last year than they did to their first preseason game. And naturally that means they're getting closer to the season. I think his messaging today through us with his press conference was, cut the crap. Like, we need you out here now. We need this team to get healthy. We need you to be available because we need to start getting ready for this game, like these games that really matter. And we can't do this if we're as banged up as we are right now, or if we're dealing with the media-driven James Cook stuff. So that's what I was taking out of his press conference today.
I agree with what Tyler says here. Loved the phone call with Marv. How cool was that? Marv Levy, he sounded great for 100 years old. And I know he spelled it wrong here. Mike says Marv sounds great for 100. It was amazing. And we know Marv had his birthday last week, 100 years old. I happened to be at the Jim Kelly Celebrity Gala on Sunday night, and there was a video from Marv.
That's awesome.
Talking about Jim and the gala and Bills. It was really amazing.
Yeah, definitely. That was cool. And it was also just like, wow, 100 years old. That is so remarkable and impressive. And I know Sean said it in the phone call on the episode. It would be really cool for him to get back one more time this year. I know traveling for a 100-year-old is not as simple as it would be for somebody who's younger, but he's got to get back to the stadium one more time this year. I mean, some of his best memories probably in his entire life were inside that building. So for the final season, you would have to think that he's involved at least in some way, shape, or form.
KJ Hamler, another. This guy's he's a funny guy. He's funny, and
he's hilarious.
Talking about the scooter again was really funny. Not a guy I thought would be featured on Hard Knocks, but I think because of his personality, you see why.
Yeah, definitely. He has been maybe the star of these last couple episodes just because he is so funny and his stuff with the scooter is hilarious. And then, the Hard Knocks producers had to be just salivating when he scored a touchdown in the preseason game. They were like, we got it, baby. We can tie it all in back to him having an actual big play in the actual preseason game. So yeah, I've loved the KJ Hamler stuff. I like this comment though. His scooter was stolen. He said it was taken by a squirrel. Did you catch that comment?
I did.
He's like, it must have been taken by a squirrel, which I thought was pretty funny. Did you see this comment from Trey? I think this is a interesting one to touch on. You both see Josh all the time, but to the world, he is so darn funny and just a guy's best friend. He does the Bussin' with the Boys podcast, and the interview is featured in this episode a little bit. And, he does a lot of the podcasts, the big ones around the country, and he's in these commercials, and he's all over the national stage. I think he certainly, in these settings, comes across as a very relatable, likable athlete. I understand why, obviously, Bills fans adore him because of how good he is at football. But it even feels like outside of Buffalo, he is a pretty universally liked athlete, right?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I mean, there's obviously some polarization there. There's going to be fans of other fan bases that don't like Josh Allen. But you and I have both had many experiences of being outside of Buffalo and people telling us how much they love Josh Allen.
Oh, I remember I was on a cruise in Greece 2 years ago or something, and somebody, where are you guys from? I said Buffalo. They weren't from Greece. They were from the United States. I just said Buffalo, and they're like, oh, Josh Allen. And I'm just usually like, yeah, pretty good at football, huh? And then I just kind of see where it takes the conversation. We had a conversation at the Bandits NLL championship game in the press box. Elena, who's been commenting, she was part of this conversation. I think Josh Allen has become one of the most recognizable athletes absolutely in the country, but in the entire world. He is all over the place. There are very few athletes who are bigger superstars right now than Josh Allen. He is everywhere. It's just crazy that he plays quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. It's kind of nuts.
On the trip to Italy that I was on recently, through WGR, we promoted and we went there, and there was 20 people or so in our group, and then we were actually put with another group that was traveling with Colette Travel, our travel company, and it was total of 44 people. And so we all went around this big room and just said hi to each other and introduced who we were and where we were from. And there was a woman there with her two daughters, who actually the two daughters actually just recently graduated from Syracuse, which was ironic, but they were all from Massachusetts. And I kind of made a joke about, what, we're all here from Buffalo. These are Bills fans, but we'll accept you as, part of our group here. And if you're, Patriots fans. And the girls basically all said, oh, you know what? Yeah, we don't like the Bills, but we really like your quarterback and we really like his wife. So that was pretty cool, right? I mean, that from that standpoint, this is a rival fan base, and that happened to me as well. So yeah, I think Josh Allen transcends. And I think the fact that he's married to Haley Steinfeld, I think, also allows that to transcend even further into other genres, basically in other areas and people's lives that you wouldn't think about and know about, maybe Josh Allen.
Yeah. And then it was cool to see, this comment about Josh Allen. And then today, Craig Bohl, his coach at Wyoming, was actually out at practice. So we're recording this Tuesday night, and we were chatting with Craig Bohl. We did an interview, and, we're chatting with him afterwards. Do you have any favorite Josh Allen stories? And I think it's very typical for anybody who has a Josh Allen story to not publicly say the Josh Allen story, because I'm sure most of them are really, really good and probably really, really under wraps. But some of the stuff that he said about him, we knew it was him. Like, we knew he was going to be a star. We just knew that it needed to take a little bit of refining. I don't know if you caught the part. I don't know if you were still there, but after kind of his scrum of the interview ended, he shared a story with, I think, myself, Jenna Cottrell, and maybe Thad Brown was still there. He told us that when he was flying out to meet Josh, their plane had to make an emergency landing in Wichita because there was engine failure, and that the mechanics worked through the night to try and get the plane back up and running. And if it didn't get fixed, they weren't going to be able to go visit Josh. And the next day, they told him that they wanted him to be the face of their basically school. And like, we've traveled the country looking for our quarterback, and you're the guy. And he was like, we wouldn't have been able to do that face to face if this plane didn't get fixed. And who knows if he would have committed to us if we didn't get to do it in person.
That I did not hear that, but that's kind of wild, because Brandon Bean has shared the story about going to Josh's to visit Josh during the draft process and having like a really bad plane ride.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like, you got to get through, you got to overcome whatever obstacles that are or aren't there to get to that greatness that apparently the Bills and Wyoming were able to find. He is going into the Wyoming Sports Hall of Fame, the Athletic Hall of Fame. Craig Bohl told us that he literally changed the state because of what he did for the football team. He saved Wyoming football.
And by the way, Craig Bohl also coached Bobby Babich at North Dakota State. And he said that Bobby was not a lockdown corner, but man, he knew everything about the defense. And he said he might have only ran 4.8, but it seemed like he was 4.4 because he did everything right. And he worked his butt off, and super fiery and son of a coach. We know that. We're really cool. So that was great to see. Least surprising thing about Hard Knocks so far is right here. Milano doesn't talk. We do not have anything on Matt Milano right now.
2 episodes of Hard Knocks, and Matt Milano hasn't said one word yet. He hasn't said one word near a camera in a long time. He just keeps to himself, and he's doing his old thing. This one's from CDOT a little bit ago. I'm shocked that Keon hasn't been the show more often. I feel like he matured a lot over the past year. He looks locked in 24/7. I feel like a Keon portion of an episode has to be coming because he is such an infectious personality.
Probably right. And I agree. I'm a bit surprised it hasn't happened yet. And I wonder if Keon doesn't want that. I wonder if he's said like, hey, I don't want to be on this. But who knows? Maybe we get a totally different tone on the next episode. What the other one? Oh yeah. I was writing some notes. Frank Gore Jr. I thought it was really cool that Frank Gore Jr. got a little bit of love, because I thought he played really well last Saturday against the Giants. And for Frank Gore Jr. to get a little bit of love, that was cool as well.
Definitely. I thought it was funny that they showed the clip of the fan being like, yeah, that Frank Gore Jr. guy. It was a nice way of setting it all up. Frank Gore Jr. to me, there's probably other people who have commented something about him. There's not a path to the 53-man roster. There just isn't. But there is a path to the practice squad. And I feel like last year we were having the same conversation of, do you think he's going to get poached from another team? Teams tend to just keep their running backs that they've had in-house. Very rarely do you see them, especially with that position, go out and get somebody else. I think this is the perfect situation for the Bills to let him continue to marinate. And then if you ever get to a point where you've got an injury, or if eventually you move on from somebody, he feels like he could be the next guy to come in. Like, doesn't he feel like he would be a nice one-day Ty Johnson replacement if they ever needed to move on from Ty Johnson?
Yeah, I think so. But man, Ty does so much. You have to see it happen,
This isn't a knock on Ty by any stretch. I'm just saying it's like a rotational running back.
He feels like that. And just so people know, I mean, at the end of camp, presumably if Frank Gore Jr. doesn't make the team again because they're keeping 3 running backs, and of course you have Cook and you have Davis and you have Ty Johnson, he'll get released. He'll be subject to waivers. Any team can claim him and put him right on their 53-man roster. But a team would really have to like him enough, and they didn't do that last year, to put him on their 53-man roster. It can happen, and then he can sign. If it doesn't, he can sign to the Bills practice squad. And from there, all practice squad players are free agents. At any point, a team can go. I don't like the word poached. I know it's the right term for a practice squad. I don't love when people say a team poached a guy from the practice squad. You can't just go take a guy. You got to offer him a contract he's got to accept. There's been plenty of times where players have said, you know what? I don't want to go there, even though I'm going to make more money, be on the 53 at least for 4 weeks. I think my chances are better here to stay here in Buffalo or wherever that is to get an opportunity. And I don't know what Frank Gore would choose if that were the case, because he does have a few guys in front of him. But I know his dad has talked very highly about the Buffalo Bills and how they treat his son and why he wanted his son to be here when he signed as an undrafted free agent.
I'm glad you brought up that point, because I feel like that's why we're having the Frank Gore Jr. conversation, is because his father was so impressed with the organization and the people within the organization that he was in his ear and saying, like, hey, if this is a team that's willing to have you, I recommend you going there. And Frank Gore Sr. has a lot of experience in the NFL, so he has heard a lot about the league and seen a lot from the league. So I do think that is high praise and speaks volumes to what the Bills have been able to build over the years. Somebody just, Scott, would the Bills keep 6 wide receivers just to save Shavers? Save Shavers is a hard thing to say. Would the Bills keep 6 wide receivers to save Shavers from waivers? That is
save Shavers from waivers.
Save Shavers from waivers. Say that 5 times fast.
Way better to type it out as you did, Scott.
Yeah, I don't think they would keep an extra one just for that.
Here's the question you have to ask yourself, Scott. How many teams in this league are knocking down the door to make sure they get Tyrell Shavers? They had a chance for the last 2 years to have him. I like Tyrell Shavers too. It's not a knock on him, but there are only so many spots on every single team. And then you're getting a guy late in your process. Let's say you're a team like, I don't know, let's just pick a team, the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions go, you know what? We really like this guy. But then you'd have to come to your team, learn your entire offense. You'd have to put him right on the 53. You can't keep him on the practice squad. That's a tough deal. It's not just taking the guy because you like him. It's also fitting him in right there and then.
This is a comment from Kebby, I believe it's how you said. I think we're overreacting about Shavers. We've seen this down the road with him, no disrespect. It's a very similar conversation to what we had last year. I think the reason his chance at making the team this year is more legitimate is because of the other questions with the guys he's competing with. Like, we haven't seen Curtis Samuel on the practice field since the first day of training camp. The money with Curtis Samuel becomes complicated. But if there's a way you can trade him or do something there, I don't know if the Bills would prefer Tyrell Shavers or Curtis Samuel. I don't know how you could.
What team is going to take his close to $7 million base salary, though?
It would have to probably be attached to a pick.
Right.
And
you'd have to give them a pick. That's right.
That's where I struggle with, because I don't think the Bills would give up Curtis Samuel on a 5th for a 7th, a conditional 7th, just to get him off the team. So then if it's not Curtis Samuel because of the money, which complicates things, then it's Elijah Moore. What do you think the Bills would rather have? Elijah Moore or Tyrell Shavers? And if that's the conversation, even though Shavers has been the more buzzy name, I think they would pick Elijah Moore. I mean, he has a proven track record in the NFL, and he was not a super expensive player to go get.
He also could be an option to return punts. You know, he can do a little bit more. Look, and again, I'll go back to, what is the risk of losing a guy like Shavers? Yes, you could, but are teams going to take him or want to take him? Maybe. And look, the other part of this is the player does have a choice, doesn't have to go to the practice squad. A guy like Shavers or anybody else could say, you know what? I've tried it here for a few years. I can't make the team. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not signing with the practice squad. I'd like to stay in shape and just kind of go and show other teams what I have without dedicating every day to the Buffalo Bills. You could do that as well.
Yeah, and then there's this comment from Scott, and then you have Shenault. Like, Laviska Shenault is a player that I think I kind of, I don't want to say wrote off, because I didn't write him off, but he wasn't somebody that I was thinking about a ton. And then he goes into that preseason game and he plays all over the place. And then I start to wonder, is there a path for him instead of Brandon Codrington? And then they could theoretically keep 6 wide receivers with him being one of those, but then also be their primary returner. I don't think that's completely out of the question.
After seeing him actually return a punt, I think they at least have that option open. I still think it would be really tough for me to see a guy who's never actually done it in a game get the spot over a Brandon Codrington, who I think the team really likes. And, I've been saying that for a while about Codrington. Sorry to keep you up here, Matthew, as we're
your takes are so boring.
I know.
To me
I'm so boring on the takes. All right, let's advance the story though. This week the Bills are in Chicago. They're going to take on the Bears at a joint practice on Friday, and then they're going to play on Sunday night. We do not know if Josh Allen or any other starters are going to play Sunday night. Sean McDermott said he hasn't made that determination. We do know that Friday should be a really good day to get some work for Josh Allen and the starting offense, because you can't touch the quarterback in these controlled scrimmages and these, practices, joint practices. And that's a great time to give Josh Allen a chance to play with his guys against another defense.
Do you think the practice will have any implication of his availability for the game? Do you think if they go and do a really good practice, then they'll be like, he doesn't need the reps?
Yep, I do. I think that that's a moving target. I think if they go out there and they are not good and the offense is not in sync against the Bears on Friday, I absolutely think Sean McDermott may say, we have to clean this up. You're playing on Sunday.
So I don't,
or vice versa. Hey, you're good. Put a ball cap on.
I don't disagree with that sentiment. The only thing that I keep going back to is he has played in every preseason in some capacity, and I couldn't see them not having him play this week and then playing next week. Like, that just doesn't feel logical to me. But
Agreed.
But there's also, this would be a fascinating question for McDermott in like a more informal podcast setting. It's not a press conference question, but I was thinking about it a little bit today. And it's, when you were getting ready to make a decision on Josh Allen playing in a preseason game, what is the biggest factor you're thinking of? Is it the health of your offensive line? Like, he's not going out there unless all 5 of the starters are healthy, because Spencer Brown wasn't available the other day. Deion Dawkins leaves practice early today. Doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. We can touch on that after. Is it the surface? Is that you want him to play on grass? You won't let him play on turf? Is it the fact that it's at home? Is it the fact that it's week 1 or week 2 of the preseason because you have more time if something does that? There's so many factors that could go into it. I wonder what the biggest factor is, though. And I don't know if he would tell us.
Brandon asks, how worried should we be about Bass's injury? And the Smoker says Bass hasn't had a good year. I mean, he's been out, and that's right. I mean, at this point, he's one of these guys in this bucket that Sean's talked about, which is right. He hasn't had a good year because it hasn't been available. I mean, the real year hasn't started, but I think he's in that same bucket of guys that Sean is talking about. They need to get back on the field, Matt. I mean, I asked McDermott today in his press conference about how important it is to have the operation work, to know, like, Tyler's out there and you got these 3 guys, Reed Ferguson and Brad Robbins Holding and Tyler Bass. And he said it's important, but at least they do have a kicker right now, not Ray Davis, but Caden Davis, who can give you, you have 2/3 of the operation working basically, right? And at least that's happening. And then when Tyler gets back, hopefully he's good to go. But man, I agree. Like, we're getting to a point now. I think I need to see Tyler Bass kick here soon.
Yeah. I mean, because what if there's growing pain? Like, I don't even want to say growing pains, but if this is something that lingers, what do you do? Do you just roll with Caden Davis? Like, is that what you ultimately do?
I don't know.
It's weird because he's been out at practice a lot. We just haven't seen him kick in a long time. So I think we always thought he was getting close to coming back, and that just really hasn't happened. All
right. So I'm glad you said we've seen him out at practice. You are a person who can answer this question much better than me, because I did not talk to Deion Dawkins after practice. Apparently you and Elena Getzenberg did. Yes. So let me just give you the background of what happened. While we were interviewing Craig Bull, Josh's coach at Wyoming, in the field house, look over and I see Deion Dawkins, and there's 4 athletic trainers with him, walking with him. Like, oh, wow, this isn't good. Like, what's going on? But he was walking on his own. He was carrying his helmet with him. He was speaking with trainers, and then he went into the locker room. He did not return. So it's okay. Deion Dawkins left practice with trainers, did not return. You can go from there.
So after practice ended, well after practice had ended, we were in the field house and we saw Deion Dawkins in street clothes, probably on the other side of the field house, which to me was already a good sign. The fact that he was out there and just kind of walking around and talking to people after practice is usually a good sign when it comes to injuries, because if it's anything serious or anything that they need to continue to monitor, usually we just don't see those guys. Deion Dawkins is a player who's got a really good relationship with the media. He's always somebody who we can go to for questions or quotes or whatever we're working on. He's usually pretty willing to accommodate. He was talking to a couple people probably a half an hour after pretty much everybody else was out of the field house and just was standing there. Elena and I were both like, we think it's fair game to just go ask him, hey, are you good? And he jokingly saw us and was like, I left practice early today. I don't need to talk to the media. And we're like, that's right. Actually, Deion, you don't need to talk to the media. But if you were going to talk to the media, would you say that you're good? And he was like, well, I said, I'm not going to talk to the media. But then he like smirked, kind of gave us a thumbs up, and then like started to dance away from us. Okay. And we're like, that's probably a sign that he's fine, because if, he was seriously injured, I don't know if we would have saw the smile, the thumbs up, and the dance away. So then we said, we're going to post exactly what happened. And then he just was like, okay. And then just kind of kept going further away from us. So that's what happened.
I think that sounds good. Sounds encouraging.
It sounds encouraging. It's like if he had a serious injury, he wouldn't be out there smirking, giving thumbs up, and dancing away. He would not be out there at all. So I think that's a very good sign.
All right. Anything left from your end that you want to just kind of touch on here, whether it's from practice today or the Hard Knocks episode?
No, not really. I really liked the Damar Hamlin stuff from the episode. I thought that was pretty good. It's just such an incredible story. So I'm glad
there was a part of the episode we didn't touch on that people have commented on. The party at Terry Pagula's.
Yeah.
So that party apparently was for, and by the way, didn't mean to interrupt you. I wanted to make sure I remember.
Yeah. I'm glad.
But that party apparently was for the limited partners and other people. But that's what that was. That was Vince Carter was there, and Tracy and Josie Altador. I saw Mike Jew, the guy that we ran into in Florence. I told you about.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Saw him and he was there.
Yeah.
And that was what was happening there. So I know people just had some comments or questions about that particular party, and someone even said in the comments a little while ago, they didn't realize Terry was so present at training camp. Oh, absolutely. He's every year he's there pretty much every day.
Yeah, he's always there a ton. And, to his credit, it's his football team. If I had a football team, I think I would be around there every single day. The only thing I would do differently is I would probably talk more than he does publicly. I think he's been fairly visible in these first 2 episodes of Hard Knocks. I think that's good. You want to see him be around. We just don't ever really get a chance to talk to him, which, I'm sure is exactly how he likes it. When's the last time he answered questions from reporters?
It's been years. Local reporters. He was on NFL Network at the owners' meetings last May, I believe.
Here's a comment. Pagula not knowing who 44 is was somewhat concerning to me. A couple people have said that too. Like, I've got a group message with my buddies, and that was something that was also brought up. It was like, how does he not know who 44 is? In his defense, there's 90. I'm defending Terry Pagula here. There's 90 guys currently on the roster, and he's got another entire organization under his umbrella. Actually, he's got multiple, if you cut the Bandits as well. He's got a lot of stuff going on. Like, I know you immediately see 44 and you go, oh, Joe Andreessen. But, like, I don't think it's crazy that he doesn't immediately know that.
Jay chimes in. You guys are awesome. Thanks, Jay.
That's a nice comment to end on, considering we were, peddling fake nonsense earlier. So that's good.
Yeah, that we were manufacturing a James Cook storyline. What do you got going on? Tell everybody what's going on at WKBW. And I got something I want to make sure I hit on that everybody knows about as well.
Just status quo. We got Monday night shows leading the charge every Monday night, 7:30 to 8. Once the season starts, 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Getting ready for what should be a pretty hectic week. And then, honestly, just getting ready for the season. It's kind of sneaking up on us right now.
We have close to 4,000 live viewers, by the way. Maybe we'll stay on here if we can get 180 more, and then we can shut down for the night. But listen, you've all heard me talk about it. I put it on my social a little bit. Seriously, we are going to have a great time next May. I hope you've checked it out. Going to go on this Buffalo Football Legends cruise through Odyssey and Sojourn Travel. It's going to be amazing. Thurman Thomas, Steve Tasker, Fred Jackson, Butch Roll, Del Reed of 26 Shirts. Our buddy's going to be there, and some more. And we're going to celebrate Thurman's 60th birthday on the ship, like on this cruise. We're going to the British Virgin Islands. We're going to the Caribbean. It's next May 10th through 17th. Check it out, WGR550.com. I'm going to be the master of ceremonies, essentially, for all the Bills stuff going on.
That'll be exciting.
It's going to be like a meet and greet night. There's going to be a trivia night, game show night, dance party night, memorabilia night, all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be really cool. And that's why I'm telling everybody about it, because August 17th, which what day is today, Matt? Today's the 12th.
August 12th.
So 5 days from now is when the early sign up early bird special ends. So August 17th, make sure you go to WGR550.com. Check out the Buffalo Football Legends cruise. I wanted to say that. They wanted me to make sure I promote it here and tell everybody about it, because we have a different audience here that might not necessarily know about it, watches or listens other places.
Comment from Josh. Beauvais hair change. Does my hair look different?
Maybe.
I mean, I'm getting ready to go to bed.
Wait, okay. Have you... I mean, I'm sure in your life you've had different ways to part your hair, but or has it always been the same?
It kind of always just goes that way. It just naturally just kind of goes that way. It normally, I guess there's normally
You're a part in the middle.
I should. There's normally, this is longer than I would like. I just haven't been able to go get a haircut because we've been busy. So it's not as, I guess, a fade. Like normally I have like less here, but I'm just kind of holding on. I want to try and keep it as long as I can. So, that looks ridiculous. I got to change that.
Speaking of hair, and here, Miss Smoker does say, Sal of HBO were present at Craig Bowles' interview. Josh Allen, you might make it on Hard Knocks finally. You were right there with him. I was, but actually I do. See, you guys don't know. Like we play a game in my household, Find Sal, and we do see my bald head sometimes, like when the camera's panning somewhere. But you don't
just in the background,
because like at Dawson Knox scored a touchdown, and there's my bald head right on the sidelines. Right? I'm like, okay, that's cool. This time, no voice from me. I was in episode 1. No shots of me. I did see Sneaky Joe DiBiase, though, in the background on his phone doing something during one of the plays in training camp.
Okay, there you go. The strongest. No, I have not seen myself at all. I haven't really been paying, because I feel like if you were looking in the distance, we're all kind of in the same spot. So eventually you would just see each other. I haven't been paying a ton of attention to it. I would say the media cameo of the week was Josh Reed for sure. Last week it was Mookie. This week it was Josh Reed.
And Dan Fates last week.
Yeah, Dan Fates had a nice little cameo too. Dan Fates' bicep had a very strong role in the first episode.
Speaking of cameos, I did one the other day for like drawing people's drafts. So I do these cameos for people. They can actually, Matt and I did a cameo for the Buff Bills.
Yeah, we did.
Rochester. So thank you. They actually request you can go to Cameo. I'm on Cameo at Sal Sports. And someone said, can you do a cameo to the Bills backers of Rochester? Just saying how much you love being out in Rochester and thanks for the support. We did that. It was really fun. And what I do every year, Matt, is people ask me to do their draft orders. And they're like, can you do a cameo? And they sign up on Cameo, do a video drawing our draft order. And I make fun. I like have fun with it. Right. And as long as it's not inappropriate, I'll do it. And the other day I did one, and I will tell you some of the names. I'm going to give you some of the names from this fantasy league that I got. And they have to be the most ever like Bills themed names that I've ever heard. All right. For some of these, for this draft. Let me find this real quick. Hold on. I have to find it because I don't have it with me here. So hold on a second. But anyway, have you ever thought of, or do you have a Bills themed name that would be really good?
No, I've never thought of that. My fantasy football names are usually inside jokes with the people in the league. We don't ever really have some of those names that you'll often see in like fantasy football screenshots or anything like that. We're just,
well,
I'll tell you, I'll tell you this. My team name this season might be Firm Putter. That means nothing to anybody but a couple of my friends. Firm Putter.
Right. It's a little inside joke, right?
Exactly.
All right. So I'm just going to give you some of the names. I'm just going to give a shout out to the Des Moines Bills backers. They asked me to do a cameo and said, Sal, can you draw our draft order? And I did randomly. Like I did it and I announced, but I'm going through it. I'm like, oh my God, like every team name here is like something with the Bills. They're the Des Moines Bills backers. We had Allen Wrench Mafia, the Buffalo Terminators. We had Magic Beans. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? Here's a Josh Allen joke, but I love it. Buffalo Joe Andrees Nuts.
That's funny.
I think that's a great name for a fantasy game, to be honest with you. We also have Allen or Nothing. Snowballs is a good name of a team. A close shavers.
Very good. These nuts is so good.
I know. So anyway, thank you. That was great. You made my night the other night when I did it late at night. I'm like, oh, I got to get this done. I did it late at night. So anyway, if you want to reach out, I'll be happy to either do your draft order. I'll pull it myself, or I'll just announce. You give me the order, I'll announce it for you, and you play it at your draft or something. That's pretty cool.
Matt, I'm a utility worker, and I did a job at your aunt's house, or she claimed to be. Told her I was a big fan. She said you were always the best young man.
Definitely wasn't his aunt.
I don't know what. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if it was my aunt in Rochester or if it was my aunt in like Orchard Park, Hamburg. You love them both dearly. The best young man is like so fitting of a way that an aunt would describe their nephew. Oh, he's the best young man.
He has a nice personality. He's the best young man.
Yeah, they squeeze your cheek. Oh, so handsome.
Do you have an aunt that does that? Squeeze your cheek?
No, nothing like that. I just had my Italian grandmother who used to like do this, like bite her hand when she was. Now
my Italian grandma Capaccio, literally was the squeeze the cheek and say manja. She did that when I was like, she passed away when I was very young, but I remember being like 7 years old and her doing that and saying manja.
My grandmother used to have a saying or a quote. My grandmother on my mom's side, Norma Vaselli, clearly Italian. She used to say, "A day without bread is like a day without the sun." And I have never related to a quote more in my life.
We'll end on that note. We are just shy of 4,000 viewers here tonight on the live Hard Knocks episode 2 reaction. We thank everybody for coming aboard. Make sure you're following Matt at Matt_Bove. Make sure you're following me at Sal Sports. What are you? Is this right here?
Yeah, it's our buddy Jason from Channel 7. He's we used to always do a joke. Remember Prescott Rossi?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, we always say our sweet handsome boy. So I have become Jason, sweet handsome boy, instead of Prescott.
Well, Jay, we thank you for watching as well. Everybody else, of course, if you missed any of this, you came by late, don't worry. At Sal Sports is the YouTube channel, or you can just kind of find the stream right here on X as well, if that's where you're trying to find us. We'll be back hopefully next week with another live episode reaction to Hard Knocks episode number 3. In the meantime, the Bills have a joint practice against the Bears, a game Sunday night, and then they'll lead into their final preseason game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's hard to believe it's already here. By the way, a little shout out today. Saw Brian Hodgson today at Buffalo Bills practice. He is from Jamestown, used to be a UB basketball assistant coach, now the head coach at the University of South Florida. So local guy does good, right? Talking about Joey Andreessen. How about that? Brian Hodgson, now the head coach at the University of South Florida. And he was out at practice today. So that's a pretty cool that he was back in town to watch his hometown football team.
I didn't go say hi because I didn't know if he was going to remember who I was, and I didn't want to have the awkward like, "Oh, hi, I used to cover you when I was, I like back in the day." I just thought it would be weird, so I just was like, I didn't know if you remember me.
You are such a gregarious people person that I know the move here, right? Like, I mean, I do this move all the time, which is I see the person, I'm like, I don't know if they're going to remember me, but I'm going to make sure I don't make it awkward for them. So I go up and go, like Brian in this case, I'd be like, "Hey, Brian, what's up? Sal Capaccio, WGR." Right? Just say my name. So you'd be like, "Hey, Brian, what's up? Matt Bove, Channel 7. He'd be like, "Oh, yeah, Matt, what's going on?" And even if he didn't remember you, he'd pretend he did, and nobody's awkward.
Definitely. That's fair. But what if he does remember you and is like, "Why are you telling me who you are?" Of course I would remember who you are. Because, like, I feel like, so that would be, I don't think
anybody really, I mean, I guess that has happened now I think about it, but it's very rare.
You've picked up on this. I'm and not shy, but I'm like, I'm closer to shy. You don't think so?
No,
I'm more shy than you are. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk to anybody. That's 100% right. That's 100% right. I'll talk to anybody. But I don't think you're shy. I think the scenario you just described, I think, is right about you, which is like you want to talk to somebody, you just don't want to. You hope it's not an awkward moment, so you kind of made avoid that particular part of it.
I avoid awkward moments if my life depends on them, or at least I try to.
All right. Well, thank you very much for watching tonight's episode. Check us out on audio as well, not just video, of course, wherever you pod. That's iTunes, that's Spotify, and of course, the Odyssey app. For Matt, I'm Sal. Have a good night. We'll talk to you later in the week, and it's always game day in Buffalo.